easy to pin down. It's also been hard for me to criticize people who I know, who I've been on the same side as for a long time. But I think I managed to, as I often say, beat the politically correct stuffing out of myself.
He did that and more with this cartoon. It showed incumbent President Jacob Zuma preparing to rape Lady Justice. Zaphira called it a metaphor for the abuse of justice that allowed Mr. Zuma to take office. But there was a little bit more to it than that.
Our sitting president was acquitted of rape charges under very controversial circumstances. A lot of people, myself included, were not very impressed with that verdict.
People within the ANC, including Zuma himself and a number of others who were saying that I was unfair to portray him as a rapist after he'd been acquitted. I am saying it is clearly metaphorical because the figure of Lady Justice is a metaphor.
But be that as it may, it is sailing very close to the wind for that very reason.
Mr. Zuma then sued Zaphira, which led to this on-air skirmish.
I am doing exactly what journalists and what cartoonists and what satirists do in democratic societies.
And I thought, well, I'll ambush him a little bit because, he is suing me. Unfortunately, I got cut off when he made a statement which I thought was just grandstanding.
You are invading my own dignity.
But at least I got my say in and a lot of people heard.
Now, more than 2 years later, Zaphira has finally been issued with a court summons for the Lady Justice cartoon.
I hope it goes to courts in 2011 because I can't wait to see the president of the country having to explain how the cartoon that Jonathan did was irrelevant to what he had done before he became president of the country.
This whole case against Shapiro could set a very unfortunate precedent. It will be satirists now, tomorrow it will be journalists, the next day it will be particular analysts, on and on and on. We're coming from this country where in the 80s people used to get the newspapers with big holes in them because the state felt that it was not in the public interest. We don't want to go back there.
Here's another technique Mr. Zuma doesn't like. Zaphira attaches a shower head to the president's head. It dates back to his rape trial when he admitted to having unprotected sex with an HIV-positive woman. To reduce the risk of infection, Zuma said he just took a shower.
This is a very strange statement from someone who had been the head of the National AIDS Council in South Africa. So I did a cartoon where the shower appeared on his head, and it actually said AIDS prevention.
For the next 3 years, every cartoon that featured Zuma featured the shower head. That changed in mid-2009, but only temporarily.
When he became president, I thought, well, let me give him a chance. And I did a cartoon where his critics are giving him a break and the shower's now suspended. So the shower just sort of lifted up and hovered in the air. When it was found that he had even more babies out of wedlock. He's married to 3 women, but these were even outside of those marriages. So, of course, the shower had to come back.
This time, it was bigger than ever. Throughout this period, Zaphira was planning a satirical venture not for print, for broadcast.
As my old friend Frankie used to say, start spreading the news.
He created a political puppet show called The News. Zaphira teamed up with a French producer, Thierry Cassuto, who moved to South Africa in 1998, 4 years into majority rule, and saw a satirical opportunity staring back at him.
I looked at the political field, the landscape, and I thought, wow, this is like a chessboard with so many different, very colorful characters. Having a quasi-saint like Nelson Mandela on the one hand, on the other hand, having a quasi-neo-Nazi like Eugene Terreblanche, and everything else in the middle.
The News was commissioned by the SABC, the country's state broadcaster. But when the SABC demanded editorial control, the deal fell apart.
There are certain tests that are best done behind closed doors.
Breaking into programming on Al Jazeera, the latest pictures out of Green Square in Tripoli. This is Muammar Gaddafi in amongst the crowds there, and we believe he's addressed the crowds.
ردوا عليهم ردوا على An answer to the agent. Reply to the liars. Reply to the mass media, the media of lies, the mass media, the mass lies. This is the great people of Libya. You are the fruit of the revolution. You are the enthusiastic youth of the revolution. You see pride and dignity in revolution. You see history and glory in revolution. It is the jihad of the heroes. It is the revolution that gave birth to Omar al-Mukhtar. It is the revolution that we set up memorials. I am among the public. We will continue to fight. We will defeat them. We will die here on the dear soil of Libya. We will defeat any foreign attempt as we defeated the former Italian imperialism. This is the formidable force, invincible force of youth. Life without dignity is worthless. Life without green banners hoisted is useless. It is the life of pride, dignity, and victory. The green flag flying and hoisted. You, the youth, be comfortable at any place, in the streets, squares, dance, sing, stay up all night, live a life of dignity with high morals. Muammar al-Qaddafi is one of you. Dance and sing, joy and rejoice.
So, Muammar Gaddafi says, Muammar Gaddafi is one of you. Dance and sing, joy and rejoice. An unexpected scene coming from Green Square in Tripoli. The man himself, Muammar Gaddafi, the Libyan leader, addressing people in person. We saw a televised address not a few days ago. This is an unexpected step up. He has appeared in public to address his supporters. Life without green banners hoisted is useless, is what he told the crowd. You must live a life of pride and dignity. And the crowds there, at least, agree with him. They are in support of him. These are the pro-Gaddafi supporters. The suggestion, though, is that they are well outnumbered by the number of anti-Gaddafi supporters, not just in Tripoli, but right across the country of Libya. An unexpected step up, wasn't it, Tariq? In the studio with us here, suddenly he appears in the flesh, the man himself.
Absolutely. Unexpected, remains defiant within Tripoli. I think the overwhelming response from the rest of the country is what's prompted him to go out in public, make this appearance.
Just quickly, sorry for interrupting, I was just told we had a close shot there of a clock there. Proof, if you like. This is real. This is not a rehearsal, this is not pre-recorded, this is for real. What's he achieving by doing this?
Defiance. I'm still in charge. I'm still the man. I'm living up to every promise I made in my speech 2 days ago. This is his second speech. If you go by the tradition set forth in Tunisia, or previously in Tunisia and Egypt, he's got one more speech to go. In my view, the next step will be to really escalate this defiance and perhaps aim to retake the rest of the cities surrounding Tripoli.
Can you give me some perspective on what we actually see? The size of Green Square, the number of people that could possibly fit in there? Just an estimate, because I think the pictures, when you see close-up shots like this of big crowds, it paints a certain picture.
Yeah.
I want to know how realistic that is.
Green Square could probably accommodate tens of thousands of supporters. We don't know where the supporters have come from. I'm looking at signs in front of me that suggest that some are representing the Tuareg tribes from the southern part of Libya. From Sirte, there are signs, protesters are from Sirte. These are still strongholds for Gaddafi's clan and perhaps for the regime. This has to be taken against the backdrop of what we saw elsewhere in Libya, in, I think, Benghazi, Tripoli, and other cities where much bigger protests or much bigger celebrations, triumphalist celebrations of the liberation of the country. This is probably orchestrated, and I'm a bit surprised that it's taking place around the same time when we've received increased reports of protesters being gunned down around Tripoli. So how is this being taking place? Were the initial reports perhaps exaggerated, or are these reports controlled and designed? Remember, the regime has had a couple of days to prepare for this. This is also the day where the international media has been invited, where the city has been prepared to welcome international observers. And I would not be at all surprised that a great effort has gone into producing this celebration of Gaddafi.
Tariq Youssef in the studio with us as events suddenly escalate, but in a very different way in Libya. 1700 hours GMT, 7 p.m. in Tripoli. I'm Kamal Santa Maria, live continuing coverage of events across the Middle East, but in particular we are looking at Libya now, where the Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has made a public appearance in Green Square in Tripoli, where his supporters are. A very surprise performance. We saw the proof that he was there. The clock showed the live time that he was there, and we're going to listen to that address as it happened.
ردوا على الكذابين، ردوا على وكالات وإذاعات الكذب، وليس وكالات وإذاعات الإعلام، ليس إعلام بل إذاعات الكذب، تسمى إذاعات الكذب. ردوا عليهم. الشعب الليبي، أنا إذا كان شعبي ما يحبني ما يستحقش الحياة. إذا كان شعبي والشعب العربي والشعوب الأفريقية وكل الشعوب إذا ما تحبش معمر قذافي ما يستحقش الحياة حتى يوم واحد. إذا ما يحبني شعبي أنا ما يستحقش الحياة حتى يوم واحد.
Right, apologies, no translation on that particular bit of tape, but we are going to find the portion of the speech where we do have a translation. These, the live pictures now, which paint that picture, as I said just a few moments ago, of a frenzy, a throng of supporters for Muammar Gaddafi. Certainly there are, we can't deny.